The wine glass in your hand is trembling, but no one notices, not with all the clinking, the fake laughter, the slow, syrupy way your mother raises her voice when she wants to sound proud. She's standing now, smiling too widely, waving her champagne toward the end of the table where your sister sits in that pale pink blazer she always wears when she wants to look innocent. The moment feels staged, like you're watching the family version of a Broadway production. We just want to say your father begins already flushed from the second bottle. How proud we are of everything you've accomplished, sweetheart. Your sister dips her head, fake humble. Aw, stop. But he doesn't stop. That's why we're investing in her future. $5 million. It's a gift, a real one. No strings, no loans, no payback. Just pure belief in her potential. There it is. It lands like a dropped plate. Some people gasp lightly. Someone laughs in disbelief. Your aunt drops her fork. You're still holding your wine glass. You don't react, not in any way they'd notice. You don't even blink. You don't turn to Grandpa, who's sitting silently near the corner, his hands folded tightly in his lap like he's bracing for impact. You just keep your breath steady. This isn't the first time your parents have overlooked you. It's just the most public, the most expensive. Your sister throws her arms around your dad's neck, squealing, "This is gonna change everything." Then she glances toward you like it's a reflex, like checking to see if your heart just stopped. But you smile, gently. You nod like you approve of it all, because you've learned something important. If you're not going to be included in the celebration, you can still choose to leave before the spotlight burns. So you do. You stand slowly, excuse yourself to the bathroom, and then keep walking. Out through the hallway lined with fake awards and wedding portraits. Out past the kitchen where your mother's voice echoes faintly behind you, still bragging. Out into the night where your breath condenses in the cold and the stars refuse to blink. You don't even look back. That's what gets them later. Not the inheritance, not the twist, but this quiet moment right now, you walking out without asking for anything. Because no one taught you to take, only to wait. And now you're done waiting. Your car is parked just up the street. You walk slowly, letting the weight of the moment throb against your ribs like a slow drumbeat. At the corner, someone calls your name. You pause. Grandpa! He's wearing that same coat he always wears, the one with the loose pocket and the stain that's never come out. He walks toward you without a cane, even though everyone says he needs one now. He doesn't look like a man who's just watched his lineage fracture. He stops in front of you, looks up into your face. "You good?" he asks. You nod. He watches your eyes, not your mouth. Then he says the strangest thing. "Don't disappear too long." And before you can ask what that means, he turns and heads back toward the house. You wonder if he's finally too old to care what your parents think? Or if maybe he always saw more than you gave him credit for. Back in your car, you sit still for a while, hands on the steering wheel, keys unmoving. Your chest feels tight but not angry. Not quite. It's something heavier. Older. Like grief that doesn't know where to go. You want to be stronger than this, but tonight it hurts. You drive aimlessly for a while through streets that feel like memories you didn't ask to keep. The coffee shop you used to visit when things got too loud at home. The field where your sister left you in middle school because she said she forgot you were coming too. The community center where you got your first internship and your dad never showed up for the award. You don't cry, but your throat stays clenched the whole drive home. And when you finally walk into your quiet apartment, no lights on, no dinner waiting, you sit down on the edge of the couch and just breathe. You remember the way your mother smiled when she said no strings. You remember the flicker of your father's eyes when he raised his glass. How he looked past you like you were wallpaper. Maybe this is what being invisible feels like, not rage, not even sadness. Just the ache of knowing you were never in the picture, just pressed against the frame. You open your phone to scroll through old texts, no new messages. But then at the top of your inbox, one lights up. "Grandpa." 3 words. "Let's talk soon." And for some reason, that message hits harder than all the rest. Because Grandpa never texts, you don't answer the text right away. You reread it once, twice, then set your phone face down on the table, like it might say more if you leave it alone. Let's talk soon. Not a question, not a command, just a presence. One that somehow feels heavier than $5 million being flung across a dinner table like confetti. 2 days pass. You go back to work smiling when needed, nodding when expected. But something's changed. It's subtle, like a draft you didn't notice until it started slipping under your skin. You carry that dinner with you in the hollow behind your ribs. The announcement, the clapping, the way your sister's voice pitched higher than usual, her excitement all wrapped in pink ribbon and smugness. And Grandpa, watching, silent. The next morning you call, he picks up on the first ring. Took you long enough, he says, but it's not a complaint. More like he expected this delay. Like he planned for it. He tells you to meet him at the old downtown cafe, the one with the dusty chessboard and burnt coffee. The one no one in your family ever went to unless they needed to disappear for a while. You say yes before thinking about it. When you walk in, he's already sitting near the back. No coffee, no coat. Just a newspaper spread open like he's been pretending to read. His eyes lift when he sees you, and something shifts in his expression. Less grandfatherly, more conspiratorial. You sit. Neither of you says anything right away. It's strange how quickly you slip into silence with him. Maybe because you never had to fight for air when he was around. When you were younger, he was the only one who noticed when you didn't eat your cake, the only one who asked why you were quiet, the only one who looked at you like you were the event, not just the backdrop to your sister's parade. I'm guessing you weren't surprised, he finally says, folding the newspaper. You shake your head. Not really. The amount, maybe. He nods, lips tightening. They always gave her more. Just stop pretending this time. That hits, a little too on the nose. He leans in. So what now? You blink. What do you mean? I mean, are you going to disappear like you always do when they pull this crap? Or are you going to finally do something different? You don't answer right away. You're too stunned by the sharpness in his tone. Not cruel, just clear. What could I possibly do? Grandpa sits back, eyes narrowing slightly. You could stop playing the role they gave you. The words don't make sense. Not right away, but they stick. The role they gave you. What role is that, you ask, voice lower than intended? The background one, he says. The quiet one? The good sport. The one who smiles when they forget your birthday, then says thank you when they remember a week later. He says it so casually, like he's not gutting you open with precision. You swallow. The coffee at the next table smells burnt. A toddler is crying faintly outside the window. You were always the one who could survive without their applause, he adds softer now. That's why they gave it all to her. They thought she'd collapse without it. But you were already building something they never bothered to look at. You don't know what to say. So instead you say what you've always said when praised, I guess. He huffs. There it is, that I guess again. You glance out the window, needing the world to distract you. But your reflection stares back, tired, calm, a little worn at the edges. Then Grandpa says something that shifts the air. I'm thinking of making some changes to my affairs. I want your input. You whip your head back to him. Why me? He tilts his head. Why not? Because no one ever chooses me first. He meets your eyes without blinking. Then maybe it's time someone did. That silence sits between you like a fourth person. Not awkward, just full. He doesn't mention the 5 million again. Doesn't ask how it made you feel. Doesn't need to. He knows. You talk for an hour about the past, about how he hated the direction the family took after he retired, about the way your parents started treating money like affection, about how your sister always needed everyone's approval like oxygen. You never needed to be the favorite, he says. That's your power. It doesn't feel like power, not yet. But as you leave the cafe and walk toward your car, you feel something settling under your skin, a quiet, steady thing. Not revenge, not resentment. Readiness. Later that night, your sister calls you. First time in months. Her voice is sweet at first, then careful. She mentions the dinner. She says, I hope you didn't take it the wrong way. You let the silence stretch long enough to sting. I didn't take it anyway, you finally say. Oh, she replies. Just that. But it's enough to know she doesn't believe you. She's unsure now. And for the first time in years, that feels good. Before bed, you check your phone. Another text from Grandpa. I've booked the villa. Come alone. You stare at it for a long time, then start packing a small bag. This time you're not leaving because you're forgotten. You're going because you've been remembered. You drive through fog the next morning, the kind that makes the world look half-dreamed. The highway curves like a ribbon through the hills, the radio barely whispering. And for once you let it stay that way, soft, uncertain. just noise to keep your heartbeat from filling the silence entirely. The villa sits at the edge of the coast, where the cliffs hesitate before dropping into the sea. It's been in the family forever, but no one really visits anymore. Your sister called it dusty and depressing last time, and your mom said it reminded her too much of things they'd rather forget. You loved it. Even as a kid, you'd sneak away during reunions and walk barefoot across the cold tile floors. You'd lie on the creaky patio chairs and pretend the crashing waves were applause meant just for you. No expectations, no comparisons. Just the ocean and you alone, but not lonely. When you arrive, the front gate is already unlocked. The paint is chipped, the ivy overgrown, but you don't mind. There's something sacred about a place the family has abandoned. Like it remembers you even when they don't. Grandpa's car is parked off to the side. You see his figure through the kitchen window, back turned boiling water. He's always boiling something. Tea, eggs, thoughts. You knock lightly. He waves you in without turning. Inside, the air smells like salt and memory. Dust motes float like lazy secrets catching the sun in golden flashes. You remembered where the key was, he says, handing you a mug. I knocked. He shrugs. You didn't need to. You sit across from him at the old pine table, the one with the scratch from the time you dropped your bowl of peaches. It's still there. No one cared to sand it down. Thanks for coming, he says. Most people only show up when there's an agenda. I didn't bring one. That's why I called you. He doesn't touch his tea, just looks at you for a long moment like he's searching for something he already knows is there. I want to tell you something, he says. About the house. You think he means the villa. You're wrong. I mean your parents' house, he continues. The one they live in now. You blink. What about it? They didn't buy it. You lean back slightly. What? They didn't buy it. I did. I gave them the down payment, in full, under one condition: that they raise you both equally, that they stop comparing, that they build a home that made room for you. Your throat tightens. They never mentioned that. He nods, I know. You sit with that for a while, like someone just opened a door to a room you didn't know you'd been locked out of. And they agreed to that you ask. They did. Smiled, promised. And for a while, they tried. But habits are stubborn things. So is pride. You exhale slowly, staring down at your mug. They always made it seem like I was just less. I know, he says again quietly this time. There's something unspoken there. A regret, maybe? A recognition that love, when filtered through favoritism, can become cruelty in disguise. I should have stepped in sooner, he adds. But I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd find your own way. You meet his eyes. I did. He smiles then. Not with his mouth, but with something behind his eyes. Still hurts though, doesn't it? You don't need to answer. He gets up and walks to the old chest by the fireplace. You remember it used to think it held treasure when you were little. Turns out, it kind of does. He opens it, pulls out a faded envelope. I wrote a letter back then. To your parents. Never sent it, but I think you should read it. You hesitate, then take it. The paper is yellowed, the ink slightly smeared. But the words are clear. If you ever make one child feel like a guest in their own home, you have failed. Money won't fix it. Smiles won't cover it. And silence will make it worse. You're raising someone's whole world. Don't teach them they're optional. You sit there holding that letter like it's fragile, like if you breathe too hard, it'll disappear. He watches you quietly. I was angry, he says. No, you reply, you were right. The day stretches on gently after that. You walk the cliffs together. He talks about his own father, how he never spoke much either, how he watched mistakes get passed down like heirlooms. You ask him why he's telling you all this now. Because I don't want to die with it sitting in a drawer, he says. And because I'm making some updates. You glance at him. To your will. He nods, among other things. You don't press, not yet. But something shifts in you just slightly. Because this is the first time someone in your family has opened a door instead of closing one. And for once, you're not on the outside watching through the glass. That night, you sleep in the upstairs room with the crooked lamp and the rattling window. The bed is small, but it holds you. The waves outside murmur like lullabies. And in the dark, you whisper to yourself the thing you never said aloud growing up. I belonged here all along. The sunlight slips through slanted blinds, cutting the room into soft golden stripes. You wake slowly, the kind of waking where there's no rush, no alarm, no meetings, no performance required. Just the creak of the old villa settling and the smell of something toasting downstairs. You pad into the kitchen barefoot. Grandpa is humming badly. There's jam on the counter, 2 chipped plates of pan still sizzling with butter and eggs. It feels absurdly domestic, like something out of a childhood you never had. You sit without asking. He slides a plate toward you without speaking. This rhythm you've found, it's quiet, but it's whole. You're not going back to them, are you? He asks mid-bite. You chew swallow, then answer plainly, no. Good. A silence settles, not awkward, just full. He finishes his breakfast, wipes his hands on a faded cloth, and gets up to open a drawer near the back of the kitchen. Pulls out a small notebook, black worn, wrapped in a faded elastic band. You recognize it. He used to write in it at family gatherings. Scribble in the corner during chaos. You always thought it was a crossword or a grocery list. He sets it in front of you. I want you to have this. You hesitate. What is it? Observations, he says. Over the years. You flip through. Handwriting like tangled wire pages crowded with names. Dates single lines that feel more like verdicts than notes. August 14th. She interrupted him 4 times before he finished one thought. October 2nd left their plate, expected her to clean it. March 19th asked for help, got laughter instead. It's a journal of injustice, quiet ones, the kind that pile up behind the ribs until a person breaks without understanding why. You were watching you whisper, always. You close the notebook, slowly set your hand on top of it, like you're calming something wild. I didn't expect this, you admit. No one does, he replies. No one expects to be seen when they're being dismissed. He pours more tea, doesn't ask for it back, doesn't warn you about what it means to carry someone else's observations. You realize now this isn't about pity. It's about passing something down that was kept in the dark too long. That afternoon, you walk together through the gardens behind the villa. Weeds have taken over. Lavender bushes still hold on wild and disobedient. There's a broken bench beneath the fig tree where you once cried when your parents left early during your birthday weekend. You were 12. No one remembered until Grandpa brought out cake on a paper plate. You ask him about that memory. He remembers it exactly. I made that cake myself, he says. Forgot the sugar. You laugh. I thought it was a joke. Nope, just failure. You both laugh this time. On the bench, he turns to you, more serious now. I'm calling a meeting, he says. Family, everyone. Your breath stalls. Why? Because I'm tired of leaving things unsaid. You shake your head. They'll spin it. Make it about control. They can try, he replies, eyes sharpening. But I've still got the ink. And I've still got the name on the deeds. It's the first time you've heard that edge in his voice, not anger, authority. They think I'm old, he adds. They think I've gone soft. Have you? He grins, only in the knees. You sit with that. The sea wind pushes through the trees. A bird cries above. You don't have to do this for me, you say quietly. I'm not, he answers. I'm doing this because I made mistakes. And I don't want to leave them behind like inheritance. The meeting is set for Sunday. He calls it a family update, which is vague enough to keep everyone guessing. Your parents respond with enthusiasm. Your sister asks if there will be brunch. No one thinks it's about them because it never is until it is. You stay at the villa for the next 2 days, clean the dust off the patio chairs, reread pages of the notebook, memorize the salt patterns on the windows. You think about how many years you spent trying not to make waves. And now here you are living by the ocean. The morning of the meeting, Grandpa hands you a folder. What's this, you ask? Read it later. You tuck it under your arm. Trust him. Cars begin pulling up around 11. Your mother's laugh echoes before she even walks through the gate. Your father's voice follows, slightly too loud, slightly too sure. Your sister's heels clack against the stones like applause meant for herself. You watch from the window. They don't know what's coming, but you do. And you've never been more ready? They walk in like it's a show. Your mother's wearing her hostess smile, the one she perfected at PTA fundraisers and country club events. She scans the room like she's looking for someone to impress, until her gaze lands on the chipped tile, the cracked windows, the faint smell of lemon oil and old sea air. Her smile falters for just a second. Your father's already halfway through a story, laughing at his own punchline, not noticing no one's listening. He pats Grandpa on the back, like they're equals, like he's not standing in a house built from money he never earned. And your sister, She glides in wearing beige linen and sunglasses indoors. She air kisses Grandpa, then turns to you with that glossy, restrained smile, like you're a hotel clerk who might have forgotten her reservation. "You've been here the whole week," she asks. "Alone." You nod. "Isn't it boring?" You hold her gaze. "No." Her smile twitches, then slides away. She looks around like the walls might echo something unpleasant. Grandpa clears his throat and gestures everyone to the living room. It's quiet once they sit. Not the comfortable kind, more like the kind that makes people reach for their phones. Your father shifts. Your mother straightens her scarf. Your sister crosses and uncrosses her legs twice. "This won't take long," Grandpa says. His voice is calm, measured. He opens a thick folder. "Not the one he gave you, that one's still in your bag. This one is different, newer. You know because the edges aren't frayed. I've asked you all here because it's time we have some clarity." Your mother laughs nervously. "About what?" "About legacy," he replies. "About what I'm leaving, and who I'm leaving it to." Your sister perks up like she's heard a keyword in a commercial. "Oh, Dad, you didn't say this was that kind of update." "I didn't know," your father mutters, glancing sideways. Grandpa smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "I've spent a lot of time watching," he begins. "Quietly, without interference. That was my mistake. But it's one I can correct." Your mother leans forward, her voice syrupy. "Dad, if this is about money, you really don't need to worry. We've always told you whatever you choose, we'll respect it." You can feel her trying to steer it. So can Grandpa. He doesn't flinch. "I'm not here to be respected," he says. "I'm here to be heard." That lands. Your father swallows hard. Grandpa continues. "For years, I watched how you treated both your children. I watched imbalance become favoritism and favoritism become expectation. I watched one child be turned into a symbol of achievement, and the other treated like she should apologize for existing." Your sister scoffs lightly. "This feels dramatic." Grandpa turns to her, eyes steel. "Does it?" Silence. "She worked just as hard," he says. "Maybe harder. But she wasn't flashy. She didn't ask for applause. So you assumed she didn't need anything at all. You don't move, don't breathe." Your sister crosses her arms. "This isn't fair." No, Grandpa agrees, it isn't. Your mother sits back stiff now. "So what are you saying? That you're punishing us?" Grandpa shakes his head. "I'm correcting something I allowed to go on too long. I'm giving her what was always hers." He opens the folder and slides out a stack of papers. Deeds, bank transfers, trust documents. His voice remains calm even as the air sharpens. "I've transferred full ownership of the villa to her name. I've updated my will. She's the executor. The foundation funds I set aside for the family legacy. They're under her management now." Your father is frozen. Your mother is blinking rapidly. Your sister's mouth opens, then closes. But your sister stammers. "That doesn't make sense. You always said we'd share the foundation." No, Grandpa corrects. Your mother always said that. Your sister's face reddens. "I've done so much for this family." "And she's done it quietly," Grandpa says, nodding toward you, "without needing cameras or credit." Your father finally speaks. "You could have told us before doing all this." "I didn't need your permission," Grandpa replies. "Just my own conscience." The room is heavy, dense, like something holy just happened. No one speaks for a long time. Your mother finally rises, touching the back of the couch like it might steady her. "We should go." Your sister grabs her purse too quickly. Her voice cracks as she says, "This is insane." Grandpa leans back in his chair, utterly still. "You're welcome to visit anytime," he says. "But the keys stay with her." And just like that, they're gone. You don't follow. You sit beside him, staring at the folder. "You sure they won't contest it?" you ask. "They'll try," he says, "but it's clean, legal, watertight." You open your bag and take out the envelope he gave you earlier. You finally read the front. In case they ask why, inside is a single photo, you and Grandpa. You're 6 years old, covered in sand, missing a tooth, laughing so hard your eyes are closed. You turn it over, written in his hand. Because she always showed up, even when they didn't. The house feels like a held breath after they leave. No more heels clicking on tile. No more fake laughter. Just the soft ticking of the kitchen clock and the ocean murmuring like it always has, patient, unimpressed, eternal. Grandpa stands slowly, hands on the table like a man who's just laid down a lifetime. You watch him for a moment, trying to memorize the way he holds himself now. Not triumphant, not smug, just free. You okay, he asks. You nod, though the truth is more complicated. You feel like someone just unbuckled a weight from your chest, but you're still standing like it's there. I thought it'd feel different, you say. He shrugs. Different comes later. Right now it just feels quiet. You both clean up without talking, plates scraped, chairs tucked in. The villa somehow feels younger now, like it's shaking off decades of family dust and performance. Your phone buzzes on the counter. Sister. So this is who you really are. You don't answer. Not out of spite, just what is there to say to someone who only sees value when it's notarized? Later, you get another message, this time from your father. Dad, we need to talk. That wasn't fair to your sister. Or us. You stare at it for a long time. The word fair rings like a cracked bell. As if the past 20 years were a misunderstanding. As if he's owed an explanation. You don't respond. You just block the number. Not forever, just long enough to stop the echo. 2 days pass. The silence holds, and then it breaks not from them, but from outside. Your sister posts a carefully curated photo of herself sitting at brunch captioned, "Some people have money, others have class." It's petty, sharp, clearly meant to draw blood. You scroll past it unbothered until you notice the comments. They're turning. Not everyone, of course, but some. Didn't your grandpa just hand over the estate to your sibling, kinda? Weird to call that classless Tibby. You used to be more grounded. What happened? She's unraveling, publicly. And it's not the inheritance that did it. It's the shift in narrative. For the first time, she's not the main character. And she doesn't know who to be when she's not being applauded. You close the app. No need to watch her spiral. You've seen it up close enough times. That night, you sit out on the patio with Grandpa wrapped in an old blanket, sipping tea that tastes like orange peel and nostalgia. She's not going to let it go, you say. She doesn't have to, he replies. You just have to not pick it up. You breathe that in. I feel like I stole something, you admit. He shakes his head. You were always told it wasn't yours? That's not the same thing. You stare into the dark horizon. The moon cuts the sea in half. Everything feels suspended, like a moment between lightning and thunder. I still don't know what to do with it all, you say. You'll figure it out. What if I screw it up? He smiles. Then you fix it. That's what adults do. That's what you do. It's the first time anyone said that to you without the tone of a lecture or a comparison. The next day, you start walking the property line. There's more land than you remembered. Wildflowers creeping through fences. Trees bent by wind but still holding. You start to see it not as a memory, but as a future. A place that could grow things, heal things, maybe host people who've been made to feel small for too long. A few days later, you get an email from your mother. Subject heartbroken. It's long, rambling, part apology, part manipulation, part performance. She calls you my dear, and then ungrateful within 2 paragraphs. You read it once, then delete it. You don't need to archive the past anymore. You're not writing it down in someone else's margins. You're starting fresh page 1 your ink, and still, it's not anger you feel most. It's grief. Not for the money, not even for the favoritism, but for the version of yourself that spent so many years trying to earn crumbs from people who held entire feasts in secret. You think about that girl often now, the one who smiled through forgetfulness, who clapped when she wasn't invited, who watched doors close and blamed herself for standing in the wrong place. You want to tell her something? So you sit at the edge of the villa, feet dangling air salt sticky and thick, and you whisper it into the wind. You were always enough, they just didn't know how to see it. And finally the wind carries something back. Not words, but peace. They arrive without warning. No calls, no texts, just the sound of gravel under tires and the unmistakable crunch of entitlement approaching your front gate. You watch from the upstairs window as your parents step out of the car, your mother clutching her purse like a weapon, your father adjusting his cufflinks like he's preparing for battle. They don't even knock. They walk straight toward the villa's front steps as if they've forgotten it's not theirs anymore. You open the door before they can. Don't you say. Your mother freezes. Your father frowns. We just want to talk. No, you say again, voice calm, but cold. You want to be seen talking. He opens his mouth maybe to protest, maybe to charm, but you step outside, closing the door behind you. You came all this way to say what exactly? Your mother sighs dramatically. This isn't about the money. You arch a brow. It never is until it is. She flinches. We're your parents, your father says. You nod. That's true, but you haven't acted like parents. Not for a long time. He tries to laugh, but it dies in his throat. Do you know how humiliating it was your mother spits to be told in front of the entire family that you've been stripped of everything? You tilt your head. It wasn't stripping, it was revealing. They stare at you like you've grown teeth. And then behind you, the door creaks open. Grandpa. He steps outside slowly, cane in hand today, his presence quiet but unshakable. She asked you to leave, he says plainly. Your mother's mouth drops open. Dad. No, he cuts in, not this time. She looks like she's about to cry. Not from pain, from disbelief, from losing the only script she ever memorized. Your father's face hardens. We can contest this, you know. We can call lawyers, look at the documents. Grandpa leans on his cane and stares him down. And they'll tell you the same thing I will. It's done. You weren't cut out. You just weren't the center. That word, center, it lands. Because they've always assumed that's where they belonged, where they deserve to be. I spent decades giving you chances to be different, Grandpa says. I don't have decades left, so I'm spending the time I have left with someone who never asked to be loved, just tried to love anyway. You don't realize you've stopped breathing until your chest tightens. Your mother's voice trembles now. So this is how it ends. Grandpa looks at her eyes, tired but clear. No, this is how it begins. The end was when you made her invisible and thought she'd stay that way. They leave in silence. No goodbye. Just the sound of tires skidding on loose gravel and the sharp, painful stillness that follows. When a door doesn't close gently, it slams. You don't cry. You're not even angry. You feel like a storm has passed, and you're standing in the wreckage, but you're not the one who's broken. Later that evening, the villa fills with light. Grandpa sits by the fireplace sorting papers while you open windows to let the breeze in. You find yourself humming without thinking. Something light, familiar? He looks up. You used to hum that as a kid. I did. Always. When you were nervous or happy. Couldn't tell which. You smile. He hands you a folder. Different from the others. What's this? A plan. Inside are pages of contacts, charitable groups, environmental trusts, quiet organizations doing big things without loud mouths. There's a foundation proposal in your name, already drafted. You don't have to, he says. But I thought, maybe you'd like to give away what no one ever gave you. What's that? Belief. You sit with that. It's not just money he's handing over, it's legacy rewritten. You really trust me with all this, you ask? I always did, he replies. You just didn't have the keys yet. You spend the next few days in motion, calling, writing, thinking out loud. It feels strange being at the center of something that isn't fueled by guilt or grief, something constructive. You start seeing the villa not as a sanctuary, but as a beginning. And then one morning, a letter arrives. From your sister. Not an email, not a social media subtweet, an actual letter. You open it slowly, not sure what to expect. It's short. I thought you took something from me, but the truth is I was never taught how to earn it without being handed everything first. I don't know if we can ever fix us, but I know I broke something I didn't even know you were building. I'm sorry, I'm scared, but I'm listening now. You sit with it for a long time. It doesn't erase anything, but it doesn't need to. Forgiveness isn't a transaction, it's a door that stays unlocked, just in case. You fold the letter and tuck it into the notebook Grandpa gave you. Between pages of wrongs, documented one small note of truth. It's not peace, but it's the start of one. The sun creeps in slow the next morning, painting the floors with soft gold. You wake before the light fully settles, body still heavy, but mind clearer than it's been in weeks, maybe years. There's a silence in the villa now that doesn't sting anymore. It wraps you, like the place has exhaled. Downstairs, Grandpa is already up. He's seated by the fire, newspaper folded neatly in his lap, eyes distant. You join him quietly, sitting in the old leather chair across from him, the one that always leaned a little too far back. Neither of you speaks at first. You just let the moment stretch. Then he says without turning his head, "Did you read her letter?" You nod. Yeah. What do you think? I think she's starting to realize it wasn't just about the money. He hums in agreement. Most people don't understand loss until they can't pretend it's not happening. You pick at the corner of your sleeve. I don't hate her. I know. I did once. But now I don't even feel that. It's like I just see her clearly. He finally looks at you. And she's just a scared little girl playing adult. And our parents, you exhale sharply, they crowned her before she ever learned how to stand. That makes him laugh softly. They always wanted a queen, never thought to raise a leader. You stare into the fireplace, remembering years of being the second call, the forgotten invitation, the person who got the leftover attention, only when your sister wasn't available. The ache doesn't burn anymore, but it's still there, like a healed scar that tightens in cold weather. Do you think I'm doing the right thing, you ask? With the villa? With the foundation? With all of this? Grandpa leans forward, elbows on knees. You're not doing the easy thing. And that usually means yes. You smile at that. Later in the day, you get a knock at the front door. A courier. You sign the papers. Inside the envelope are the final legal confirmations the foundation is officially under your name. The villa deed. The transfer of Grandpa's accounts. It's all finished. Final. Real. You spread the documents across the dining table and just stand there staring at them. There's a moment where your breath catches not out of fear, but out of awe. Because for so long you were told you were invisible. And now, your name is inked into permanence. You call your mentor from college, someone who once told you, I think you're going to lead something someday. You'd laugh then. But now you tell her everything. She doesn't sound surprised. She offers to help you connect with advisors for the foundation. People who do this kind of thing for real. People who know how to build something lasting. You accept. Because you're not just holding on anymore. You're building forward. That evening, you sit outside with Grandpa again. A breeze carries the scent of jasmine and sea salt. He's quieter than usual, sipping tea and rubbing his thumb in slow circles over the handle of his mug. You tired, you ask? He nods once, but it's a good tired. There's a peace in his face now. Something settled, something relieved. You know he says they think this was about punishment. You glance at him, wasn't it? No, he says. It was about redirection. I couldn't go back and undo what was done, but I could put the story in the hands of someone who knows how to finish it. You sit with that for a long time. I don't know what I'm doing, you admit. You think any of us did? But I don't want to become like them. You won't, he says. You already broke the pattern. You look up at the sky. The stars are faint but present, distant but steady. You think about your sister somewhere scrolling through her feed searching for affirmation. About your parents likely rewriting the story in their heads so they don't have to sit with the shame. But here, in this small pocket of truth, you feel none of that need to be seen. Just the quiet urge to be. Later that night you start writing. Not for work, not for anyone else. Just for yourself. You write down everything, the dinner, the villa, the notebook, the letter. You don't censor it, don't smooth it out. You let it spill. And when you finish, you realize something strange. You don't need them to understand anymore. You just needed to hear your own voice without interruption. As you slide the last sheet into the folder, you add one more line, almost like a footnote. And still I grew. You close the folder, not with finality, but with trust. You don't expect the news to spread, but it does. Quietly at first. Whispers in the family tree, cousins texting cautiously, an old aunt reaching out with a thinly veiled just checking in. It starts as curiosity, but you recognize the undertone people are recalibrating, trying to figure out how the story changed without their permission. One message reads, I heard you're running things. Now guess the underdog wins after all. You don't answer that one, because this never felt like winning. It felt like reclaiming air you weren't supposed to breathe. Grandpa watches the whole thing unfold with a mix of satisfaction and caution. They're going to come back, he says one evening as you help him arrange books in the office. Maybe not today, but eventually. People always circle the flame when they realize it's still burning. You nod. You already feel it. The pivot, the way people talk to you a little softer now, a little more careful. But not Grandpa. He's still the same, grumbling about too much cinnamon in the tea, folding the newspaper like it still matters. You worried, you ask? No, he says, I'm watching. And he is. Not like a guard, but like someone finally seeing the ending he hoped for. The next morning the letter arrives. Not from your sister. Not from your parents. From their lawyer. You sit at the kitchen table and open it slowly, your tea cooling beside you. It's civil, of course, polished, full of phrases like in the interest of equity and our clients are seeking a conversation and a mutual agreement to review the recent changes. In other words, they want to negotiate. You show the letter to Grandpa. He reads it once again, then folds it calmly and places it on the table. You know what they really want? You nod, to feel like they still have a seat at the table. He smiles faintly. You decide who gets to pull up a chair now. You stare at the letter, then slide it into a drawer and close it. You don't shred it. You don't send a scathing reply. You just let it sit, because power isn't always about reaction. Sometimes it's about silence that doesn't shake. Later that week, your sister texts again. No passive aggression this time. Just, can we meet no parents? Just us. You think about it. You take 2 days to respond. When you do, it's a simple, okay, 1 hour, public place. You meet at a park cafe, neutral ground. Sunlight filters through the trees as she walks up less put together than usual. Hair tied back, sunglasses in hand. No performance. She sits across from you, folding her fingers nervously. I'm not here to fight, she says. I promise. You nod, wait. She takes a breath. I thought if I kept achieving, they'd love me more. I thought if I won, it meant I mattered. And I didn't see that it meant stepping on you to do it. You let her speak. You were always the quiet one, she adds. And I took that for granted. I thought quiet meant weak. But now I see. It meant you were surviving. Your throat tightens unexpectedly. I don't expect you to forgive me, she says. But I needed to say it out loud. I needed to own it. You look at her, really look, and what you see isn't guilt. It's something more honest. Hurt. She's hurting. And for the first time, it doesn't trigger your own. I don't hate you, you say, but I'm not protecting you anymore. I'm not shrinking so you can shine. She nods, eyes glassy. I know. You sip your coffee. Let the silence settle between you. Then you say quietly, we can move forward, but not backward. And somehow that's enough. She doesn't ask for a role in the foundation. She doesn't bring up money. She just sits with you a little longer than expected. And when she leaves, she doesn't hug you. But she pauses. And that pause feels real. Back at the villa, Grandpa's dozing in the sunroom, a book half open in his lap. You sit nearby, the sound of waves washing in through the open window. You glance at the notebook again, the one filled with his handwritten observations. Pages upon pages of moments that once felt small but now shimmer with importance. You open to the very last page. It's blank. You take a pen and you write, she didn't need to be louder. They just needed to listen better. Then you close it and slide it back onto the shelf. The story is shifting now, not toward revenge, but resolution. A month later, the villa no longer echoes. It breathes. What once felt like a forgotten inheritance has become something entirely different, alive, with small decisions, subtle changes. The wallpaper in the sunroom has been peeled and repainted. The garden beds out back are full of new seedlings. A stack of applications sits on the desk upstairs. Inquiries from community leaders, teachers, small-town healers, people looking to partner with your newly born foundation. They're not asking for approval, just possibility. And that's exactly what you're here to give. You stand barefoot on the kitchen tile one morning, a cup of coffee warming your hands, and watch as light spills across the floor. It's strange how something as simple as light can feel like permission, like presence. Grandpa enters slowly, leaning heavier on the cane these days, but still sharp. He nods at your cup. Make one for me. You do, without question. He settles into the armchair that now feels more like a throne than a relic. They called again, he says, voice low. You don't have to ask who. They want to start fresh, he adds, using air quotes. You roll your eyes. Of course they do. You going to meet them? You pause, then shake your head. Not yet. He nods once as if he knew the answer. You don't owe anyone a performance. You sit beside him. He watches the light as it crawls up the walls. You know, I spent most of my life thinking legacy was about land, property, numbers. But it's not. You glance at him, then what is it? Voice, he says. Who you give it to. Who you silence. Who you lift. He looks at you, and for a second, he's not just your grandfather. He's your witness. You're not just the one who stayed, he says. You're the one who saw what staying meant. That's different. You blink. The words hit harder than expected. I didn't plan this, you admit. No, he smiles. You endured it. That's even harder. You remember the folder he gave you during the first storm of family fallout. You tucked it away, too overwhelmed to fully open it. Now you go upstairs and pull it from your desk drawer. Inside are letters, old ones, from him to your parents, from him to you, never sent. In one he wrote she'll be overlooked. I can already feel it. But maybe, just maybe, she'll find her voice in that silence. You exhale, you want to cry. But instead you go outside barefoot in the grass and just let the wind move through you. Like forgiveness, like fire. Your phone buzzes, it's your sister. This time it's not an apology, not a reach. It's a photo, a simple one. Her volunteering at a shelter, no hashtags, no captions, no audience. Just a moment. You don't reply. You don't have to. That night, you and Grandpa sit by the fire one last time before he leaves for his checkups in the city. He'll be gone a few days. You'll be here holding everything steady. He looks at you, hand on the door. You good? You nod. More than I expected to be. He grins. Then I did my job. You smile, so did I. After he leaves, the house is quiet again, but not lonely. You begin drafting your own letters now, not to your family, not even for anyone else, just for you. A way to mark where you've been, to give younger versions of yourself a voice. You place them in a box labeled, "What they didn't teach me but I know now." The next day you visit the old library in town. The librarian remembers you. She still has the dusty card you signed when you were 14. She hands you a key to the community room and asks what you'll be doing in there. Building something, you say. She smiles. You spend the day arranging chairs, laying out pamphlets, writing names on tags for the first foundation gathering. People arrive slowly, single mothers, elderly couples, one young man who doesn't speak but nods when greeted. You speak softly, no grand speech. You simply say, "Welcome. We're here to listen, to start again." And for the first time, you are the one creating the table, not asking for a seat, not waiting for permission, just opening the door. Because the real inheritance isn't money or property or even power. It's clarity. It's choosing what the next chapter sounds like. And now it's your voice holding the pen. The villa sleeps, and so do your doubts. Outside, the ocean breathes against the shore, slow, steady, unbothered. The wind moves through the trees in low whispering waves, brushing the curtains ever so gently. You sit by the window now, not waiting for anything, just watching the world fold softly into night. It doesn't feel like revenge anymore, not even victory, just peace, a quiet that doesn't ache, a stillness that doesn't beg to be filled. Grandpa's room is empty for now, but his books remain stacked neatly on the shelf, and his slippers still wait by the door like he never really left. In your hands, his notebook lies open, not for the pain this time, but for the truth. You add one last sentence before closing it. The story changed because I did. No signature, no final line, just space left for what comes next. You walk slowly through the villa, fingers grazing the wood grain of door frames, the uneven tile in the hallway. These walls once held your silence. Now they echo with something softer, your voice, your choice, your becoming. And when you lie down, the bed doesn't feel too big. Just right, just earned. You breathe in deeply, then let it out long and slow. The kind of exhale that empties a whole chapter. The kind that clears the air for something new to grow. Maybe tomorrow brings more letters, more noise. But tonight is yours. And if you're still awake, that's okay too. Some nights just lying still and breathing softly is enough to return home to yourself.